Hello everyone, this is Kevin Shortle, National Instructor for NoteSchool. I've been in real estate for over 25 years now, and during that period of time, I've seen a lot of changes in the industry. And chances are, if you're listening to this, you have been a real estate investor in some capacity. So you've realized as well as I have that you have to start to adapt to changes in the real estate market. And certainly we've gone through that over the last 5 years. But I wanted to bring you up to speed as to what's happening now and what's likely to happen in the future, because it will affect your returns, your bottom line, and the amount of risk that you're going to have to take on in doing any kind of real estate investing. So the quick of it is this. This article just came out towards the end of 2015. Distressed sales down to just 9% of homes sold. So REO sales accounted for 6.1%, while short sales made up about 3.3% of that. So that's a shrinking inventory. And we all know when you have a shrinking inventory, what's going to happen? Well, inevitably, your prices are going to go up. And if you're trying to buy distressed properties at a discount and you can't buy them at enough of a discount to cover the renovation, the extra cost, and everything else, it makes those deals really, really risky, because one mistake or an extra 6 months on the marketplace and you're out of margin, and you just can't operate like that. So where's the new inventory heading then today? Well, as you can see in this chart, which came out in November by CoreLogic, there has been a slight tick up in REO sales. Short sales have continued to decline, but year over year, if you start to look at that trend projecting down from the peak there in 2009 and kind of a second peak in 2011, it's gone through this series of drops and then slight gains and drops and slight gains and that sort of pattern. So it looks like that's what we're in. If that pattern continues, we'll continue to see these REO foreclosed properties continue to shrink. And getting to the point where there's fewer deals that investors are chasing, they're going to inevitably drive those prices up. And it makes it very, very difficult to make good margins and take on a lower risk. In fact, utilizing the information in this same report, I put together this slide to indicate what investors are paying today for both REOs and short sales. And it looks like this. In today's environment, based on the prices that were released by the National Association of Realtors, investors who are buying short sale properties are paying about 88% of the value of the property. So in my example here, if you have a $100,000 property, an average short sale investor is paying about $88,000 for that property. How do you make money doing that? Well, unless you keep that as a long-term rental, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to make a decent return on that. And obviously, that's why people are starting to get away from those. But the same thing's happening with foreclosures. Investors are looking at these foreclosure sales at $83,000 on a $100,000 home. So again, about 83% is the cost of the property. Your profit margin is razor thin on something like that, especially if you consider you have to renovate this property, put it back on the market, whether you're renting it or turning around and selling it retail. It's going to be difficult for you to make a decent enough profit to take on that kind of risk. So we see a lot of investors, real estate investors, that are coming to terms with this and trying to figure out how can we now buy discounted properties. Well, the answer lies within a huge amount of inventory, which is in the delinquent loan space. You buy a non-performing loan on a vacant property, you're going to end up with that property. Now, it might be through a deed in lieu of foreclosure, like a cash for keys scenario, or it'll be a foreclosure. But if you can buy those types of properties at 30 to 50% of the value, now you've got margin for profit. Now you've lowered your amount of risk in the property. So where are we when it comes to non-performing loans and inventory levels? Okay, here's what we do know. At the end of 2014, a study that was published in DS News indicated this. The numbers actually came from Black Knight Financial Services, but the publication that brought it to my attention was in DS News, and it said this. When it came to non-performing loans that were at least 90 days delinquent on single-family homes, there was $61 billion on the books of FDIC-insured banks, and there was $86 billion on the books for Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. So if you add those two known sources of inventory on the books, That's $147 billion in non-performing loans. That's a staggering amount. That's a huge amount of inventory. So what happened in 2015? Well, you can see the inventory is being chipped away. In fact, it was chipped away at just $1 billion, just over $1 billion a month in 2015. In 2015, there were $13 billion in non-performing loans sold. Well, you can do the simple math there, right? You've got about $133 billion left on the books. So we have a massive amount of inventory that ultimately is going to be sold to by these FDIC insured banks and by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. And also, by the way, this number doesn't even include FHA. All right, so there's more than this, but if we just go with this absolutely known inventory levels here, we've got a ways to go. So what's going to happen, or what has happened in 2016 so far? Well, it started off pretty quick. In early January, Fannie Mae offered their first sale. And this first sale also happens to be the largest delinquent loan sale that they have ever offered. The second largest, as you can see on the lower right there, was back in November 2015, $1.24 billion. This one's at $1.35 billion. Also in January, Freddie Mac announced their sale. Their sale was also their largest ever delinquent loan auction at $1.6 billion in non-performing loans. So the year is already taken off. You're seeing, between the 1.6 and the 1.35, you're looking at almost $3 billion in loans sold in the first month of the year. And that's going to give you an indicator of what's likely to happen in the future. I don't think that they're going to overheat this market. Okay, they're not going to do that. They're going to continue to do just over $1 billion a month in sales with the bank sales and everything else. Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, they'll probably do each about 6-7 sales this year, and then you're going to have some other bank sales. You're going to have some FHA sales. So there should be somewhere between 18 to say $23 billion in these assets sold this year. And again, some of you might look at that and might go, my gosh, the inventory is going to run out. No, it's not. Remember, there is a lot of inventory that is left on the books, and it's going to take a while to have all of this inventory go through the system, so to speak, where it ends up in front of you, and you have the opportunity to buy these at super inventory levels. So the simple math will tell us that there's going to be at least a good 5-year run where we have super inventory levels, which again is important to you because if you're looking to buy distressed property at deep discounts, it's no longer in the REO space, the foreclosure space, in the short sales. It has shifted. The genie is out of the bottle, if you will. The banks need to sell this inventory, get it off their books because they're being highly penalized now through the Dodd-Frank legislation. So they don't have the time to take all these properties and put them through foreclosure. Instead, it's easier for them to bundle them up and sell them at these big auctions. Now, eventually, those assets will come through the pipeline, so to speak, and end up in front of you. That's going to give you your inventory. That's going to give you these deep discounts, and you can start to acquire these non-performing loans and end up getting the property either, once again, voluntarily through a deed in lieu or involuntarily through a foreclosure process. And you know what? You can also target specific states. So for example, if you were looking for some short foreclosure states where you could acquire these non-performing notes with the pursuit of the profit being the end game there, why not focus on states like Georgia and Missouri that are 90 days to foreclose and it costs you less than $1,000 to foreclose on the properties? This is the marketplace that we are in. That really is ultimately the best opportunity for people looking to acquire real estate at a discount. It's just a different approach than what a lot of people have ever seen before. Now, certainly we have other approaches in this industry where we can target non-performing loans on owner-occupied homes. And on the owner-occupied homes, that's where we can help people stay in their homes. We can modify the loans for people, enable them to stay in the home. In fact, there's even government programs that on average nationwide pay the note holder, you, up to $35,000 to help people stay in their homes. That's going to be and has been a game changer for the last couple of years now. So we have opportunities on both sides. The inventory levels are going to be great this year. Hope you enjoyed this. Just a little snippet on where the inventory was, where it's going in the future, and why it's going to be a heck of a lot of opportunity for investors like you and I to purchase these assets.